All right, I think I'm just going to get things moving. Try to give the presenters as much time as possible today. Um, People will show up a little bit later, and that's all good. So, welcome to the second winners webinar for the Integrated Home Competition. We have three winners lined up to present today. Unfortunately, one who was scheduled couldn't actually make it, but still have three. We're going to have four initially. So, agenda for today. I'm going to provide super brief background on the Integrated Home Competition. And then we have the three winner presentations, the A.O. Smith Voltex Smart Electric Hybrid Heat Pump Water Heater, the Lumin Smart Panel, and the Harvest Thermal Harvest Pod. Each presentation will be 5 to 10 minutes long, and then there'll be some time for questions afterward. Feel free to either unmute yourself and ask them directly or put them in the chat, and we'll make sure they get answered. So I don't know why these ended up gray. I apologize for that. But really quickly, just a bit of background on the integrated home and CEE and the integrated home competition. So in our work, we were hearing a lot that, the market around energy has been, changing a lot, and that the time and locational value has really gained, a need to be captured. And for that, we ended up basically coming up with the Integrated Home Initiative, which describes basically what is the residential smart home of the future. And specifically, the CE Integrated Home is a connected, fuel-neutral, grid-interactive, efficient home where all the systems, lighting, appliances, HVAC, etc., all seamlessly communicate and optimize value amenities to both consumers and members. Now, this obviously has different benefits for both consumers and for utilities. For the consumer, it helps to address their preferences automatically. It'll improve their consumer experience through more customization and personalization options. And overall, it'll help add value to the consumer energy experience. For utilities or CE members, this integrated home reacts to the dynamic value of energy. It can respond to utility or third-party demand response signals, and overall will help contribute to safe, low-cost, and reliable energy. In order to kind of help, fill out this vision and seek out these products that meet this vision, we started running the Integrated Home Competition a couple years ago. And this is really just a way for us to help, seek out and identify new and innovative residential products that are coming to market, and really help to reward manufacturer leadership in this area through the promotion of solutions that demonstrate interoperability, reliability, and simplicity. And we've been running it for 3 years now. We've got a great suite of winning products, and I'm really excited about the ones we have this year. Really quickly, just want to thank all of our competition sponsors. We have a lot of CE members and other organizations that are very, interested and bought into this integrated home vision. So thank you to our sponsors. And with that, I'm going to leave the rest of the time for the winners.
Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you everyone today for joining. It's an honor to be here and represent Lumin and talk through some of this stuff. For those of you that may have been in the session in Denver, it's nice to see you again. For those that were not, looking forward to connecting with you at a later date. So we will go ahead and talk a little bit about Lumin. I want to start by just talking very briefly about who we are. So Lumin was founded in 2016. We are headquartered in Charlottesville, Virginia. And that is where all of our products are manufactured to this date. So I will talk a little bit about what it is that we do. So we do smart load management and control. That's kind of a broad topic with a number of different use cases. So we have different solutions to address the various use cases within this segment. First and foremost, I'll talk about the Lumin Smart Panel. So this is a 12-circuit load controller, really kind of designed for sites that have solar and storage, where we will essentially, in an off-grid setting, manage the sum of all loads to be at or beneath the storage inverter's output capacity. I say that because a couple of years after this solution began to be deployed out in the field, we started to uncover some various use cases, which really prompted the evolution of our newest product, Lumin Edge, which is geared a little bit more towards utility scale programs. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The Lumin Smart Panel is a retrofit device. So really what that means is that it can be installed alongside any existing service entrance. If you're familiar with the smart load management space, there are some other companies out there offering similar functionality, but really look at replacing the entire load center. So it's a really big differentiator for us from the standpoint that we are able to integrate with existing infrastructure. And we do smart load management and control. The device is managed through an app, or you can go on a web browser and log into your account and manage and prioritize your loads. From a cost perspective, the Lumin Smart Panel, all in installed, it's around $3,200. So by comparison within the industry, pretty competitive there. And I would say typically these are installed in about an hour or two. So really quick from a deployment perspective, not a ton of interruption for the consumer, not a lot of time spent on site. So when we had this product deployed, we started to have various utility companies express interest in the ability to use this platform and this technology for demand response applications, where loads from a remote location can be controlled, turned on or off, scheduled, and so forth. So via those partnerships with utility companies, we got a lot of feedback to say that although the functionality was great, 12 circuits, a lot of our utility partners aren't very interested in controlling 12 circuits per se. Instead, they were interested in targeting 1 to 4 very specific loads to control in the home for demand response applications. So we took that feedback and we developed Lumin Edge. Lumin Edge has all the same features and functionality of the Lumin Smart Panel, but it's modular, so you can control as few as one circuit to, I don't know if we have a hypothetical maximum, but if your typical service entrance has 32 breakers, in theory you can control every single one of those. So from a utility perspective, really looking at hot water heaters, electric ranges, sometimes air conditioning units, depending on whether or not that's important within that geographic region. But any of those higher power consuming loads, they can be controlled from a remote location, so you can kind of do that demand response application there. From a utility perspective, a lot of the feedback we got about the Lumin Smart Panel was beyond it's too much equipment for the intended use case, the all-in cost was a little bit too much. So we have achieved it's actually a sub $1,000 price target installed for the Lumin Edge controller hub, and then the up to 4 controller modules. So we're trying to hit a price point where our utility partners can see the right return on investment for some of these programs that they're using the product for. Again, all of this is controlled within an app for our utility partners. We can integrate into a DERMS platform, but we also have what we call our fleet client. So we can provide a platform where demand response events can be triggered and so forth. So we're trying to kind of create an all-encompassing program for our utility partners. On the upper left, you can kind of get a sense of what the consumer application looks like. And I will say the big draw from a demand response program perspective with the Lumin platform is, there are a lot of demand response devices out there, just kind of what we consider dumb relays that can be turned on and off. It's the customer control and engagement by way of having an app where they can kind of opt in or opt out of these various events. That's really what's been kind of the biggest value add from a product differentiation perspective. I will say really quickly, Lumin Edge, we are on what we're calling pre-release. So we are actively engaged with 5 or 6 utility companies across the country to go through this first iteration of a program. And then I think we're targeting beginning of Q2 for general availability for that solution. Let me see here. So I've talked a lot about demand response here, and I probably should have jumped over to this slide earlier, but I think everyone on the call is well aware of the intent behind demand response and really flattening that peak load curve. So through the ability to control and turn on and off various circuits at specific times, whether scheduled or unscheduled, we are able to achieve that intended outcome. But the big differentiator, once again, is the customer empowerment perspective. So on the right of the screen, you can see what the consumer app looks like. And so if a demand response event is scheduled, a customer can see that in their app, they can get alerts. And then when the demand response event is active, a homeowner can log into their app and say, you know what, this isn't convenient for me today. If our utility partners have allowed an opt-out feature, they can simply click opt-out. And so it gives them a sense of control and empowerment, which we've seen already kind of reduces the attrition with some of these demand response programs because customers don't get as frustrated. Maybe they're hosting a wedding and they want access to their electric stovetop or whatever situation where a customer may need to opt out. We found that customer control and the customer awareness and insight really does a lot to make them satisfied with the program. And I will say very quickly, another kind of unexpected outcome. So by way of being able to control loads and various circuits that are labeled, our utility partners are getting a lot more very granular insight into how homeowners are using power, when they're charging their EVs, when they're running their air conditioning, for example, or when pool pumps are being utilized. So that information, it's extremely valuable, and it allows our partners to craft their various rate schedules, for example, in a way that's more data driven, which we think is going to have a long-standing value for our partners. And so the next kind of category that we're looking to help or address is this concept of electrification. It's kind of the hot topic these days where homeowners are adding more electric appliances, they're adding EV chargers. So we recognize that the addition of these larger loads is going to trigger the need to upgrade service entrances, for example. If you have a lot of customers that are upgrading their service entrance, all of a sudden that might necessitate a transformer upgrade and upgrades to various resources and distribution and transmission. And so there is a bit of a domino effect that's taking place here. And I think we've yet to see the true economic impact of this because we're kind of in the early days here. But over time, we anticipate a trend where more and more customers are going to need those service upgrades. And again, there's a downstream effect to that. So what our platform enables for our utility partners is to bypass the need to upgrade a service entrance by controlling the sum of all active loads at all times. I had mentioned before that in a solar and storage use case, we are able to control the sum of all loads, all active loads at any one time, so that it does not exceed the storage inverter's output capacity. We can do the very same thing, but on a larger scale based on the existing service entrance capacity, where if it's a 100 amp service entrance and the customer has added an EV charger, we can ensure that EV charger never turns on in a scenario where it would exceed that service entrance's capacity. So you can make do with the infrastructure that exists today by adding this technology and this platform and really giving customers a little bit more control in how and when they're using things, and also, once again, building those utility rate profiles around that. So in the end, we do smart load management and control, but there's a lot of intended or applicable use cases and applications. And with our utility partners, we have found that the most applicable are demand response programs, which we have a number of those active throughout the country right now. And then now we're kind of bleeding into this concept of electrification and how we can help mitigate some of those anticipated or unanticipated costs that may have to be incurred due to infrastructure improvements and upgrades. So we can kind of help our utility partners defer those costs, which we think is a big value add. On the right, you can see the consumer app. All of those loads, customers can simply drag and drop and reprioritize. So it starts off as essential, optional, and then undesired. So you can imagine the power and the control that a customer has being able to simply drag and drop those loads and reprioritize based on their needs at the time. I will say really quickly for any folks representing utility companies on the call today, we are, I think, closed with kind of phase one of our Lumin Edge pilot, but we are looking for a phase two, so kind of a second tranche of utility partners to participate in that program. In that program, we are providing at no cost up to 10 Lumin Edge devices, the corresponding fleet management platform, even installation services if needed. So if anyone is interested in learning more or hearing a little bit more about that program, if you're thinking about a next-gen demand response program within your service territory, please let us know. We'd love to schedule some time with you. And that will conclude my topic for today, but I appreciate everyone's time and happy to answer any questions if there are any out there.